When it comes to sobriety, I've come to believe that the why behind our choice has a lot to do with how we end up getting there if we choose to go down the path. So a little backstory to this. A few months ago, I posted about my 5-year sobriety from alcohol anniversary on LinkedIn and the 8 years that led up to getting to that point. And earlier today, a friend reached out and asked if I could share a little bit about that path. In particular, did I do this on my own? Did I use an app, or was I part of the support group? And in this particular case, my why for getting sober just over 5 years ago was because I had an 18-year relationship with insomnia. And in the 6 months leading up to that, I'd gotten an Oura ring and started to have some really clear data points that alcohol was a key inhibitor to my sleep. And I had 8 years of anecdotal data points up until that to show me that, when I drink, I do not sleep very well for the next period of time. But on those sober sprints that I was doing, like 3 to 6 months at a time, miraculously, my sleep was coming back. So when I finally had a breaking point and just didn't feel like I could navigate life anymore without good sleep, I chose sobriety, and I made the commitment that this was the time that I was going all in on it. And miraculously, what showed up and what really supported me and why I believed that I didn't need external support structures was because each morning I was waking up and just noticing this incredible internal energy that was there. And as I would sit and give appreciation to that, that became so much more enticing than the alcohol. It had taken me 8 years to really give up alcohol as a core part of my identity. And that was a big part of the journey. It wasn't like I could do all of that in one fell swoop. It was being at parties and having, side conversations with, the one other person who was in that group who had been trying to give up drinking as well, and just feeling that companionship and camaraderie. It was algorithms starting to, kind of pick up on this curiosity about sobriety and feeding me helpful interviews of other, people who had gotten sober and what their experience had been, like the benefit that it had brought to their life, or experts talking about the different parts of the process, the psychology of it that inhibits us from giving up something that's been so deeply woven into the social fabric of our life. And, I came from a very, kind of drinking culture. I had drinking friends. That's, what we did together. And so it was really hard letting go of that. And, at first it was slowly, giving up drinking 3 to 6 months a year meant that I could selectively pick and choose which events to go to. But ultimately, once I chose to give up drinking, the blessing was it was during the pandemic, and so there weren't a lot of in-person social activities happening. So I had a little bit of, extra grace there, that I didn't have those immediate social pressures. And by the time that, a lot of in-person social activity came back, I was so solidly rooted in my sobriety that I didn't have the same temptation. Earlier this week, I was listening to an interview between Tim Ferriss and Kevin Rose, and Kevin was talking about his recent 100 days of sobriety. And for him, it was his doctor warning him that his liver enzymes were 5 times too high and that he might die. It depends on, why we're choosing to get sober. That will have a big influence in terms of you know, how we make that choice, and what support that we need to do that. You know, finding friends who we can talk about the, you know, perils of it. You know, now I'm a part of a men's group where I think probably about, you know, kind of 8 out of the 10 of us within the group don't drink alcohol. And so that type of supportive circle means a lot. Even though, you know, I get to contribute more, you know, being somebody who's been sober longer than most of the rest. But yeah, finding those pockets of, you know, peace in sober social circles can certainly make a big difference to it. You know, I'm a fan of 12-step programs as well. I went through one for another issue many years ago and just found that, you know, kind of the support and the structure that it brought really made a difference. And, you know, I simply applied that learning and those practices as well, though I didn't need the direct AA group to help me with my sobriety. So I hope this helps. You know, if I can be of any additional support, please feel free to reach out. This is something that, you know, I've had a lot of one-to-one conversations with folks about, and always happy to help anybody who's considering sobriety. It's made such a meaningful impact on my life. You know, just the ability to access peace, love, joy, and freedom at new levels that weren't available to me, you know, 5 and a bit years ago. So, yeah, just sending a lot of love and support to anybody who's out there considering it. And I'm here to help if I can.